This episode is brought to you by FX's The Beauty Official Podcast. Join host Evan Ross Katz on the official podcast for FX's hottest new series, The Beauty, taking you behind the scenes with its amazing stars as they discuss the show's most jaw-dropping moments. Featuring Evan Peters, Anthony Ramos, Jeremy Pope, Ashton Kutcher, Rebecca Hall, Bella Hadid, Megan Trainor, Isabella Rossellini, Jessica Alexander, and Ari Grainer. Search FX's The Beauty wherever you listen to podcasts.
So what do you want?
What do I want? I want to use my degree for good, and in general.
I kind of meant like a muffin or a latte.
I want a job with a generous work-from-grocery-store policy.
You are here a lot.
Debbie, please, I'm working.
I want a job that will change the world.
Ma'am, this is a drive-thru.
And some nuggets.
With LinkedIn's new AI-powered job search, you can find roles that match your unique skills so you can dare to discover more. Visit linkedin.com/jobs to learn more.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Listening to this podcast? Smart move. Being financially savvy? Smart move. Another smart move? Having State Farm help you create a competitive price when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the personal price plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Hello, everyone. Kyle here, and we are back with another thing. I don't know what to call this yet. I don't have a fun name. If you have a fun name for what this segment might be, you let me know. But I am here with another filmmaker friend of mine, and this is not just a filmmaker friend who I've met out in the world. This is like roots. This is roots filmmaker friend of mine. His name is Ben Warhit. Say hello, Ben Warhit.
Hello. Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, man. It's really awesome. I'm so happy to have you here. We go way back to college. We go back to Syracuse University. And I'll skip ahead to what we'll be discussing here. But when you came out with a horror short, it seemed kind of necessary to have you on this show to discuss it. But we will get there. And I just wanted to have the folks meet you. So go ahead and give a little introduction about yourself, where you're from, what got you involved with filmmaking, and what was your favorite memory of me in Syracuse? I'm just kidding. Leave the last part out.
Well, first of all, Kyle, you're one of my first memories from Syracuse Film School, because you were the first friend in our film class that I spoke to at that chapel.
Oh my God!
At Hendricks Chapel.
Yes,
we were sitting up in the rafters, and I didn't know.
Yeah, we were in Hendricks Chapel in the rafters.
And I didn't know anybody in the
yes.
At Syracuse. I didn't know anybody, certainly not in my film class. And I turned to this bespectacled, long-haired gentleman next to me, and I was like, "Hey, are you in the film program?" And you were like, "Yeah." And then
dude,
I was like, "Oh, great, nice to meet someone from the actual film program." So actually, you're one of my very first, very specific memories, and I cherish that memory, Kyle.
Yeah. Oh my God. The up in that balcony. Because I mean, what are the odds? There's like, that's all the art school was like in that chapel like that day. And our film, I mean, I guess when we started, maybe the film class was like 30 kids. Maybe we had that, and then we ended up with what, like 15 on the way out. It wasn't a lot.
People started dropping like flies.
Yeah, they dropped like flies. But we made it to the end.
We made it to the end. We made it to the end.
What got you to Syracuse? What got you to film? Like, what was that like for you?
You know, I, like any other film nerd in high school and in middle school, you know, was obsessed with movies. My earliest memories of watching movies were my dad bringing home VHS tapes of James Bond and The Three Stooges when I would be sick.
Oh, nice.
I'd be homesick from school or pretending to be homesick from school, and my dad would bring me a new James Bond and a new Three Stooges on VHS. And those are like I remember those memories distinctly as, you know, my first like foray into like getting enveloped in a story and getting enveloped in movies. And then that progressed, you know, in high school, you know, like every other kid obsessed with film and wanting to be a filmmaker, running around with a handy cam and making incredible music videos.
Yeah, absolutely.
To fully licensed music.
Yeah.
and you know, just really getting lost in the art of filmmaking. And at that point, I didn't really know what else I was going to be doing with my life. I was getting very into it, very into the arts. I was very into music. And I didn't even know film school was a thing, you know, that you could do in college. And when I started learning that was possible, and that I could focus in it, I was from New York. I was from the East Coast. And so East Coast schools were just on my radar. And so Syracuse, I knew, had this great program. And I knew there was a connection to the Prague abroad program. And, you know, for me, it was, you know, close enough to home and far enough from home and had all the things I wanted in a film school. And actually, it was an incredible film school experience. I mean, Kyle, you know, we shot on film our freshman year and our sophomore year, which doesn't occur anymore at Syracuse.
No, they don't do that anymore. No.
And I really believe those were incredibly formative experiences. It was incredibly hard. Steve Darby, our friend, and I shot an entire short film with the shutter closed and didn't know until the film was returned from the transfer house, and then we had to reshoot it. But you know, those are
and you had to pay for that too.
And we had to pay for that.
You had to pay for to develop the non film,
the fully black silent film. And you know, but that's how I got to Syracuse. And from there, I actually ended up falling into, by happenstance, the documentary world. And that's where I've been working very consistently since then, since 2013. Yeah. So it's 2026 now. So 13 years going on 13 years. So, and I've been in the doc space ever since as my day job, you know, primary focus, you know, between 9 and 5. And amongst all of that, trying to stay as creative as possible, making music videos. When I was in New York, I made a bunch of music videos, making short films. But then actually there was quite a large gap of time between, you know, my previous passion project or the project I was moonlighting doing beyond the 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 job and this current film, Jack Attack. Almost 10 years. And
is that right?
Yeah, 10 years since I really could sink my teeth into something that was fully my own. And boy, am I happy that I took a chance on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, between having to, you know, move New York to LA and then figuring out like career stuff and because you have been working so consistently, it's hard to do that. So I commend you for taking that chance. And we were talking a little bit off mic before, but just like rallying the troops, just anybody and everybody and anything that was around to make a thing, you know. It's like I know we've seen a lot of people not do that, you know, or just let that kind of fall behind them. And so I'm more than glad that you were able to get something like that together. And so we're talking Jack Attack, which is now streaming on CryptTV, which is very cool. So it is very accessible for anybody listening. Sometimes we have people come on and we're talking about a thing that might just be on a festival circuit. It might be on the festival circuit for like 2 years. So no, Jack Attack is available to watch. So after you listen to this episode, you got to check it out. The link will be in the bio. But where did Jack Attack come from for you?
Jack Attack came from, a burning desire to make a film after a long time of not making one. And that burning desire built to a tipping point. And that feeling just so happened to coincide with me getting into surfing as an activity. I had moved to Southern California, and as cliche as it is, as one does in the cliche world of Southern California, you pretend you're good at surfing. And I would
you gotta try.
And I'm still not particularly good at it, but I enjoy doing it. And I would go surfing with my very good friend Jack Taylor, who actually went to Syracuse with us, who I reconnected with after I moved here to California. And Jack lived in Newport Beach, on a part of Newport Beach called Balboa Peninsula, which is an incredibly specific and insular part of Newport Beach. And he lived in a very peculiar apartment. He lived in a surf shack that was incredibly small. It was a bedroom and a tiny little living room and a little kitchenette with his surfboard hanging on ropes on his ceiling. It had a grill and a very peculiar alleyway and a shower.
Uh-huh.
And I would go there with my dog, Millie, who is the co-star of Jack Attack. Yes, I would go there and we would surf, and then we would come back from surfing and barbecue and basically watch movies. And while I was there, while this burning desire to make a film is brewing, I'm looking around at this very peculiar location going, we got to shoot something here. Because it required zero set deck. I mean, zero. Mm-hmm. And it was just incredibly authentic. And in that alleyway, he had tons of surfboards and wetsuits and towels and all the props we would need. So my producer had him going, free location, tons of props that we could need to create a surf movie. And then Newport as a place is very odd because wherever you go, whether it's a coffee shop or a restaurant or a bar, everyone always asks you if you had been out surfing that day, are you going surfing tomorrow? And how are the waves? Were the waves firing?
And so that's authentic Newport Beach.
That's authentic.
That's crazy.
And so I'm in my head going, this is hilarious. Everyone just keeps asking me about surfing. And so that started, if someone got murdered in this surf town, would anyone even notice? And that was the kernel of the idea of let's create, could we make a murder mystery? And then I just looked around at everything I had accessible to me. I was like, all right, I got my dog, Millie. She will work with me. She comes wherever I go. And Jack had never acted in anything in his life. And I said, we're going to make this film, and why don't you just star in it? And he was game. He was like, yeah, that sounds fun. Yeah. Cut to, 6-8 months later where this is becoming really a real thing. And I said, you really have to act in this film we're making. I've attached, a large crew and we're doing this. And then he started to get really nervous. And he signed up for acting classes, private acting classes, and used our sides as his material. And I gotta credit him for really taking it very seriously. So that's, I could go on and on, but it was really very organic of how it all came together. And what started kind of as a joke snowballed very quickly into a very real movie that we were making with a really big crew. And I leaned on, when I wrote the script, which was originally called Killer Waves. Yeah. That was our first title. Soon became a working title. I immediately went to a producer friend of mine, Chloe Simmons, who's a very accomplished documentary producer, and asked her, would you want to help me make this short film? And then I went to a DP that I worked with in documentary film, Antonio Cisneros, and many of my other documentary colleagues. And that was fun because we really, in documentary, you don't get takes.
Right.
Everything is you have to be ready to capture it, especially if you're doing verite. An interview is one thing because the camera's sitting and as the interview's unfolding, you don't know what might come, right?
Right.
You still got to be on your toes, but it's different. Whereas in Verite, you don't know who you're following and where they might go, and you just have to you have to follow the action and not ask if you can do it again. And so my philosophy on Jack Attack was, look, this is a micro budget short. We don't have time. We don't have resources. We need to keep the takes at an absolute minimum. 1, 2, if we go to 3, I'm not doing my job properly. And I think that was actually very helpful, because perfection is a privilege if you have the resources to be perfect, and we did not. And so I didn't want to sacrifice making something good for the sake of trying to make something that was perfect.
Perfect. Sure. Yeah. A question about those other documentary folks that you brought in. Did they have kind of a similar feelings or backgrounds that you had? Did they have the itch to do something like this? Were they also feeling that sort of like buzzing that you had to just like do something narrative, or were they just like, hell yeah, let's go help Ben? Like, what was their sort of approach to it?
I can't speak for them. I think it was more of the latter of, hey, Ben's enthusiastic about this. Let's go out and do it. But I think everyone was game. And certainly all of the same rules apply in filmmaking, whether it's a documentary or scripted, right? I mean, it's the same gear. It's the same type of lighting. It's just a different way of doing it. It's more of a stop-start approach, as opposed to we're rolling the camera for 4 hours straight. And we're going to figure it out in the edit, as opposed to we've already figured it out. Now we need to execute. There's like significantly less pre-production when you're making a doc, because you can only plan so much. You don't even necessarily get a scout. You don't get to scout sometimes. Everybody was game. And I think it was great, because I know I can only speak for myself, but I had to dust off some cobwebs making this film, and I'm glad I did, because I can't wait to see what I can try to pull off on the next film. I think more than anything, what this film did was it reinvigorated the desire to make more films.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. You don't want to leave something like this and be like, all right, fuck that. Not doing that ever again. That's the opposite of what you want. So that's good that it gave you that fire and kept it going.
As a contractor, I don't pay for materials I don't use. So why would I pay for stuff I don't need in my mobile plan? That's why my Biz plan from Verizon Business is so perfect. Now I can choose exactly what I want, and I only pay for what I need.
Right now, with my Biz plan, get our best price, as low as $25 a line. Visit Verizon.com/business to get started today. New lines only. Price per month with 5+ lines. Includes auto pay and paper-free billing and promotional discounts. Taxes, fees, economic adjustment charge. Applicable add-ons, prices, and terms apply. Guarantee applies to base monthly rate and stated discounts only. Add-on prices additional. Offers in March 31st, 2026.
Año nuevo. Los mismos extra value meals en McDonald's. Ahora te puedes llevar 2 snack wraps y papitas y una bebida mediana por solo $8. Solo por tiempo limitado. Precios y participación pueden variar. Los precios pueden ser más altos en Hawaii, Alaska y California y con entrega.
Kraft Mac and Cheese is better than 90s hip-hop. We'll remind you of your childhood without making you feel incredibly old. Kraft Mac and Cheese. Best thing ever.
This episode is brought to you by Stouffer's. Here comes 3-time juggling champion Natalia Rogers. She's juggling law school, her TA job. Oh, narrowly catches the laundry. What's that 4th ball? Parents unexpectedly showed up at dinner time? Is that too much for Natalia? Not with Stouffer's Chicken Alfredo and its mouth-watering mix of Asiago, Romano, and Parmesan. When you're juggling 4 things at once and the clock strikes dinner, think Stouffer's.
I have created the most advanced AI soldier.
The wait is over. Tron Ares now streaming on Disney+.
We are looking for something you've discovered. And some of us will stop at nothing to get it.
Ready? The countdown is complete.
There's no going back. Our directive is clear.
Hang on!
Tron Ares now streaming on Disney+. Rated PG-13.
The thing I love about Jack Attack, and I got to see a cut or two of it before this final cut, which I really enjoyed, and the process of seeing you work with multiple genres. There's we're talking about it as a horror piece. It's on a horror platform, but I mean, there's a lot more to it than that. And even the initial approach being like a murder mystery, there's a good a bout of comedy. There is some of that doc style that comes in during the surfing stuff. Like you can just kind of feel like you're almost part of the surfing. Yeah. What was your approach to combining those things or allowing those things to?
It honestly wasn't that intentional. You know, I didn't. You know, we didn't go into making the film saying, you know, let's blend genres and make this weird horror, comedy, thriller, mystery. That was not the intention. I think I inherently love those movies. My North Star that I used as an influence on this film was Fargo. I think that film is so funny. Like laugh out loud funny. But I watch it with a lot of people where I'm cracking up during scenes and people are dead silent, perhaps even disturbed. You know?
Right.
And that is, I think, incredible filmmaking. You know, you can get two very specific types of reactions from completely different people, whether you intended to or not. And so I think I just kind of went in that direction. It wasn't necessarily intentional. American Psycho is another example of a film like that where I am rolling on the floor laughing and other people are, you know, very scared.
Right.
And so certainly wasn't intentional going into the film that way, but I think it just kind of naturally went that way. I don't know. There's something about Tim and Eric that I think also kind of applies in this world, sort of a weird characters that are outsiders and pariahs that, like, how are they even existing in this? I don't know. I find that to be very funny and weird, and I just kind of go in that direction.
I love how genuinely you came to that story. You know, if you had this itch to make something and then you just let life happen around you and you pulled all those components to turn this into a thing, you know? I think that's a very natural, organic way to do it.
I built a story based on the things I had access to. I was like, I have access to this location, I have access to a dog, I have access to this red truck, I have access to the ocean, and I have access to all this surf stuff.
Yeah.
So
make it
I
so.
knew I was trying to make something that had laughs in it because I found the world of Newport surf culture to be hilarious. But no one else was laughing except for me.
Yeah.
And
no, it sounds bizarro.
It was bizarro.
Weird.
It is bizarro. Yeah. And there's also something really beautiful about surf culture, but there is something inherently funny about it. So I knew that was going to be an element of it. And how we would dial the comedy is certainly something I'm still working on and hope to really dial in even more on the next short, because perhaps what you think is funny doesn't necessarily translate in film. And I think I wanted this film to be an opportunity to shake off the cobwebs and actually kind of learn how to tell a story again. How do you make someone laugh? How do you make someone feel scared? How do you raise tension in the filmmaking process and the editing process? You know, and I think it was incredibly informative in that way.
I think you were able to nail a lot of that in that final piece, which you were able to bring out to some festivals too. What was that like? What was the response like when you brought it out to screen?
A lot of initial rejections. You know, we did. I think we submitted.
So brutal out there, man.
It can be brutal. And as the rejections came in, I think we got 20 initial no's. You know, it hurts your feelings, but then eventually, I think we kind of made a game out of it of like, oh, maybe we won't get into any. Maybe we'll go 0 for 35, or we'll go for however many festivals we submitted to, 40. But then it felt good to get in. When we got into Holly Shorts, that was very vindicating. I was like, okay, this is a real festival. This is going to play on a big screen with a proper system. We're going to create a DCP. This is not just going to play as an MOV file. And I was super stoked because, we were making the film. I certainly knew we were going to finish the film, but I didn't know if it would ever play for anyone. And actually, as we started getting the rejections, I started getting really nervous that it would never get in anywhere. And so I set up a private screening. First, we did a screening here at my house, just like on the TV with, a sound bar, and tried to make it as cinematic as possible for cast and crew. And then and it was kind of like a wrap party. And then I actually rented out a theater with another filmmaker, and we kind of did like a double feature for our horror comedy shorts.
That's cool.
And that was really fun because I was in a proper theater. And then I thought, okay, it played on the big screen. I don't care if I get into any other festivals because people saw it on the big screen. And then it got into some places, which felt awesome. It was awesome. It was great. We didn't get into that many, but I felt like with Holly Shorts and then with Studio City, those were, those made me feel like, okay, we created something that people enjoyed watching and was, I guess, up to a certain bar where people were willing to program it in their thing. And then the CryptTV part of it, once we ran out of once the festival run was done, I thought, then we came up on the 2-year anniversary, which was the 2-year anniversary of the first day of filming is November 3rd, 2023. So when we came up on November 3rd this past fall, I thought, okay, that feels like a nice way to kind of re-announce it on social media and put it on YouTube and just be like, it's out in the world, you're out, it's in the wild on YouTube. And when I did that, it was a little anticlimactic for me. Some people posted it, and it was fun that it was out there. And then I just always remembered CryptTV because Carlos Arata, who's a colleague of ours and former Syracuse classmate, and very talented filmmaker, had a horror short that was on CryptTV once, and I remember he enjoyed it. Right. So many moons ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago. So I thought, oh, maybe CryptTV would be a nice home for this. And I cold emailed them their info@CryptTV email address. I sent them the link. I made my pitch, and then they got back to me like a week later. And they said, we love it, and we'd love to put it on.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Now, it's so nice, though, and there is a home that is not, like, your channel as as much as you want to just, like, but having somebody else just, like, house the thing is great. And CryptTV is huge. Like, I mean, they have millions of subscribers, and they have a great selection of shorts. And I'm so glad that Jack Attack is on there.
Me too.
For people to see. That's great. It's a great home
Thank
for
you.
it. It is tough. It is tough to somehow just, like, sometimes shout into the void, into the abyss.
All I do is shout into
like,
the void, Kyle.
That's it. That's it.
All I do is shout in the
Professionally,
void.
Personally, it's brutal. That's so awesome.
Thanks, man.
And like you said, there's a lot of years between the projects that you set out to do. So, congratulations, and how awesome it is to have it out there into the world is fantastic.
Thanks, man. I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah. Okay. Any inklings, any thoughts, anything about the next one that you have on your mind, or is it just sort of brewing still?
I just actually finished writing a short the other day, first draft. It is a monster movie. It has some comedy in it. I tried not to worry too much about how it was going to get made. I just tried to enjoy the writing process. I'm not sure it'll ever get made. And then a bunch of other, silly short ideas that I have, and a couple features I've been kicking around, but trying not to put too much pressure on it about there being a follow-up or what that next project might be. And because Jack Attack happened so organically, it just kind of happened on its own. I didn't force it. I mean, I had to force like actually getting it done on my own deadlines, but in terms of like the creativity of it all kind of coming together, it was actually really easy because it just kind of sparked. And I'd like to think that they all come that way. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't, I'm sure. No matter the artistic medium. So I don't know when the next project will be, but I know there will be one. And that was the most important thing about making Jack Attack was, do I want to do this?
Yeah.
Do I want to make films?
It's good, like, check-in with yourself, as an artist, and be like, is this...
I was very frustrated. Like, I should be making films. And then I was like, I don't make films, so do I want to make films? And so I said, I'm going to make one, and then let's see how I feel at the end of it. And I think more than anything, it has totally reinvigorated my love for film and making films.
Great. I love that it did that, man, because it could go the other way, and I'm glad it didn't.
Totally.
Because, I've known you for a long time. You're a talented filmmaker. You're a good guy, and I'm happy that you got some good shit going on out there, man.
Thanks, man.
Because we are horror movie night. I do have to ask this. You mentioned American Psycho as a formative film. Any other horror films or horror things that you gravitate towards or that you really like?
I mean, The Shining is The Shining, of course. I loved Weapons. that came out this year.
Weapons ruled.
Weapons ruled.
Weapons was great.
Sinners ruled. I mean, this elevated horror genre is really working in theaters, and it's awesome to see it crushing at the box office. It's really inspiring. It makes me believe that movies are not dead.
Dude, if anything's gonna save it, I think it could be horror.
I think you're right.
I really do.
I think you are right about that, sir.
I think it is saving.
I agree
in a lot of ways.
So, I would say certainly The Shining. Fargo's not a horror film, but it's a dark comedy.
There's some things that apply.
Yeah.
I think it's a good conversation. Yeah. Fargo's a good conversation piece.
Yeah.
That's great, Ben. Oh, well, hey, so I told people that they can find Jack Attack on CryptTV, and like I said, I'll put the link in the bio. But Ben, where else can people track you down, should you want them to track you down at all?
You can track me down on Instagram. It's just at Ben-Warhit. It's just my name with a dash in it. A lot of Jack Attack content there, a lot of personal content, family and friends and stuff like that. But that's where anyone can track me down if they want to talk with me.
Awesome. Ben, thanks so much, man, for coming on, chatting with me.
Thanks, Kyle.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
Absolutely a pleasure.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.